Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I have your attention because third day of Adjunct Professor 2025 is about to begin. To ensure a smooth event, please switch your mobile phone to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, warm greetings to all of us. Welcome to the Honorable Professor Hidefumi Yoshii, Doctor of Philosophy from Setsunan University, Japan as our distinguished guest lecturer. Dean of Vocational School, Diponegoro University, Professor Dr. Engineering Budiono, Master of Science, Vice Dean of Vocational School, Dr. Ida Ayu Dwimayanti, Master of Management, and Dr. Engineering Vita Paramita, Bachelor of Engineering, Master of Management. Head of Program Study, Dr. Muhammad Endi Julianto, Bachelor of Engineering, Master of Engineering, and respected lecturers. And of course, honorable mention to our beloved participants. Before we start, let us express our praise and gratitude to the God Almighty for giving us health blessings and opportunity that we can gather in today's event in a good condition. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Fierina Putri Anindya from Industrial Chemical Engineering Technology as a Master of Ceremony on today's event. Before we move forward, let us take a moment to pray according to each of our beliefs. Prayer begin. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to third day of Adjunct Professor 2023 with our special topic about encapsulation of functional oil and flavor. This lecture will be delivered by Professor Hidefumi Yoshii, Doctor of Philosophy from Setsunan University, Japan, and will be moderated by Mr. Abdullah Malik Islam Filardi, Bachelor of Engineering and Master of Engineering. Before we begin the lecture, allow me to introduce today's moderator. Mr. Abdullah Malik Islam Filardi, Bachelor of Engineering, Master of Engineering, a lecturer at Department of Industrial Chemical Engineering Technology, Vocational School, Diponegoro University. He completed both of his bachelor and master's degrees in chemical engineering at University of Diponegoro and is currently pursuing his doctoral study in the same field. His research focuses on membrane technology, food engineering, and sustainable process innovation, and he has published several works in reputable journals and conferences. With his academic and research contribution, we are honored to have Mr. Malik as today's moderator. And with that, time and session, now I hand to the moderator. Please give applause to Mr. Malik.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Konnichiwa, Yoshii-san. First of all, I would like to thank to our God because we can be here, we can be still alive. Welcome to Industrial Chemical Engineering Technology Visiting Lecture 2025. My name is Abdullah Islam Fadli, and I'm so honored to be the moderator in this session. It's really inspiring to see our academic community to come here, to gather here, to learn something new about the functional foods. Before we begin, I would like to introduce our speaker. They are Professor Hidefumi Yoshii, is the part of Department of Food Science and Nutrition, Faculty of Agriculture, Sessionan University. Actually, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii have some expertise, especially at the encapsulation and innovative packaging methods, and then functional food. 2 days before, we learned about the fundamental about encapsulation, especially at the spray drying. Now, we will have some advance about functional food. There are the functional food and encapsulation. How about the PowerPoint, please? Okay. Okay, today we will learn about the flavor encapsulation and their characteristics. Gas encapsulation for shelf life extension and preservation. Okay, without further ado, let's invite our speaker, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Please give warm applause to Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Okay. Dojo yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Today, I'd like to talk about flavor expression and their characteristics. And then half of the lecture, I want to talk about the gas expression. So the aroma, the flavor, is very, very important to live this kind of life. So, especially, very good flavor. How can I say the Indonesian language and the oishii nioi?
Wangi, wangi. So the flavor is wangi.
Magi enak. Yeah,
Wangi.
magi enak. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So, magi enak is very important. So usually the mix of the three flavor can make the very good flavor for food. So, especially the sulfur compound flavor is very important. So, mini goreng, not mini goreng.
Indomie, mie goreng.
Yeah. No. Nasi goreng.
Oh, nasi goreng.
So when you cook the nasi goreng, so we can feel some kind of rice flavor, and then some kind of vegetable flavor, egg flavor. But those nasi goreng, mini goreng, have some kind of good flavor to have some kind of very, very good flavor. So first, I want to talk about selective diffusion theory, so that I skip that. And then, this is a spread dryer. When we want to make the good flavor powder, so spread dryer have several factors. One important factor is the atomizer to make the small oil liquid droplet. And then flow rate of the liquid, also important. And then gas flow rate. And then inlet air temperature, outlet temperature, also important. But when you check the spread dryer condition, important factor is outlet temperature. So when you operate the spread dryer, usually the inlet temperature above 100 degrees Celsius. Food industry use the 200 degrees Celsius, 180 degrees Celsius, very high temperature. But usually the outward temperature is 90, 80 degrees Celsius. So initially, when you operate the spread dryer, initially you have to feed the water. So when you inlet air temperature is 180, but chamber's wall should be below inlet air temperature. Then usually I see your university's chamber made by stainless steel, but thickness a little bit small. So the heat transfer is very efficient. Therefore, when you don't feed the liquid water, stainless temperature easily became the 200 degrees Celsius. Very dangerous. Therefore, so first, don't forget to feed the water initially, and then get the steady state condition after you feed the material, emulsion solution, flavor solution. So therefore, don't forget to feed initially the water, distilled water.
Okay.
So I skipped this slide, and then also. So we have many flavors compound. So when we see the molecular weight, low molecular weight have a high pressure, vapor pressure, flavor pressure. We can have many type of the flavor. But the flavor, usually this region, and then this is the log P, but so this slide shows two types of the aroma flavor. Spread drying of water-soluble aroma. Water-soluble aroma is spread dried with polysaccharide as a raw material, such as maltodextrin, and aroma retention could be estimated by the selective diffusion theory. So please remember the one word, selective diffusion theory. And then also we can make the lipophilic aroma powder. Emulsified lipophilic aroma with surface active agent emulsifier, such as the gamma arabic or formaldehyde starch, is spread dry. So it is difficult to estimate the aroma retention in the spread dried powder. But water-soluble aroma case, we can estimate the retention. So why aroma can be retained? Usually aroma easily evaporated, but after spread drying, we can see the flavor retention in powder. So why can we get the aroma compound in the powder, although they are highly volatile with respect to the water and might be lost easily to a great extent during the drying? This is a Rayleigh equation. So that when we use this Rayleigh equation, alpha is this is the relative volatility of flavor to the water. When we get this relative volatility, we can calculate the retention of the flavor. For example, the acetone, ethanol, relative humidity, is the 46 and the 12. And when we calculate, this is the final water content, initial water content, so that we can calculate when you use this Levy equation, retention of flavor almost zero. We cannot get the flavor powder. But we can get the flavor powder. Why? So some of the theory model indicate the indication of the retention of the aroma in the powder. So one is the selective diffusion theory. Another theory is microregion and trap theory, glass state theory, stabilization with hydrogen bonding. But today, I talk about the selective diffusion theory. So, formation water salt flavor powder case, we can estimate the flavor retention by using selective diffusion theory. So, this is the drying curves and temperature curves. The thick solid drying at the moisture content. So X, this is the moisture content. So this solid drying is the wet bulb temperature of the liquid droplet. So first, constant drying rate period, and then after falling rate period. So when we imagine the atomizer of the liquid droplet at the atomizer, so the migration of water and the aroma compound in drying wall is governed by the molecular diffusion. When the surface water concentration falls below a critical moisture content, so black circle is the aroma flavor compound, and the blue is the liquid water containing the maltodextrin over some kind of raw material. Spray dryer chamber, at spray dryer chamber, spray the liquid droplet. And then liquid droplet have gas flow heat of gas flow. So then spray drying, initially, film formation occurs. So when the surface water concentration falls below a critical moisture content, a thin layer of the wall material is formed. Cover the skin formation occurs. This thin layer is increasingly impermeable to the diffusing aroma compound. When the water concentration decreases, the diffusion coefficient aroma compound decreases much sharply than that of the remaining water. So the thin layer becomes impermeable to aroma compound and retain the aroma still present in drying powder. So it means that initially, film formation occurs. This film of raw material cannot diffuse the aroma. Diffusion coefficient of the aroma is very, very low. So this is one example of the water and ethanol diffusion coefficient, some maltodextrin. X-axis is a solid concentration. So black dot, black key is the water diffusion coefficient. open key is the ethanol diffusion coefficient. So the water region, ethanol diffusion coefficient larger than the water. But the near solid region, 1.0 means the solid means the wall material, pure wall material. This case is a maltodextrin. So the some point, when we see the some point, this dried region, ethanol diffusion coefficient is smaller than the water. Therefore, this dry skin can penetrate the water, but the aroma cannot penetrate. This is the selective diffusion theory, some kind of model. So therefore, when we think about the flavor powder, form the flavor powder case, please think about film formation. So what kind of the raw material should we use? So I cannot find 昨日の学生さん。Oh. Oh.
Please stand up, Seva.
This place and so when we think about raw material, we have to think about the diffusion coefficient, film formation. So maltodextrin flavor diffusion coefficient is smaller than the protein raw material. Protein film formation rate is slow. Maltodextrin and sugar film formation rate is very rapid. Therefore, when we think about the flavor powder, we have to think about the diffusion coefficient of the flavor in dry film. So, and then also, when we know some kind of the diffusion coefficient of the water and the flavor, we can estimate the decrease of the flavor in the liquid droplet. So this is some kind of the example. So recently, you can calculate the flavor retention during the drying. It is easy to calculate the flavor retention when you use AI, Copilot, some kind of AI system. You don't need to calculate this kind of equation. Maybe you don't like the mathematics, that only you can use the computer and easy to calculate. And then how to increase the aroma retention? Increase of initial salt concentration. So initial salt concentration is important. So the cost of the formation of powder is important. Therefore, in food industry, recently, salt content near 50%. But the aroma and the flavor company, they also make the powder, flavor powder, fragrance powder. Fragrance company can use the low solid content because fragrance, aroma is very expensive. But the food industry, solid content is about 50%. Fragrance company, 30% can use. So the increase aroma retention increase as the increase of air temperature. Why? Because the film formation rate is rapid at high temperature. For example, the inlet air temperature 100 degrees Celsius, film formation rate is very, very slow. But 200 inlet temperature, so the film formation rate is very rapid, faster than the 100 degrees Celsius. So therefore, usually the high temperature evaporation of the flavor is occurs, but the spread drying is when we think about spread drying. So the increase of air temperature, 200, we can use as the inlet air temperature. So, and then next, I want to talk about expression of the emulsion aroma oil emulsion by spread drying. So the usually aroma flavor is the oil. Therefore, we need the sugar, raw material solution, and the flavor, and emulsifier. So the food company use the whey protein and sodium caseinate and potato protein isolate. So the recent trend, whey protein and caseinate have an allergy effect, but the potato protein isolate allergic effect is very, very small. But the recently trend is that the company want to use the low allergic water material and emulsifier. So almost 20 years ago, the whey protein and caseinate have an allergic effect. Therefore, they want to change those protein emulsifier to the modified starch almost 20 years ago. But recently, European people and the United States people, and they check the pea protein. And then also, Asian people check the potato protein isolate. So recent trend is raw material and emulsifier. Also, low allergic effect. So we have to check the low allergic effect. So, and then also, aroma emulsion, flavor emulsion, we have to think about the film formation. And then also, in this case, we have to think about the oil droplet size. So this is one example of the spread drying condition. Aroma is daily morning and ethyl butyrate, citrus fruits aroma, raw material, maltodextrin, arabia gum, water-soluble soybean polysaccharide. This is a soybean polysaccharide and modified starch. So encapsulation emulsion aroma emulsion by spread drying. So the influence factor, aroma retention. So the emulsion properties. So that when we want to make the flavor powder for the oil-soluble flavor case, we need the emulsification process and then spread drying process. The emulsification process is very, very important. And then sometimes we have to think about drying condition in the temperature, feed temperature, salt content. But usually, company have a very big spread dryer, so that it is very difficult to change the drying condition. Some researcher said, please spread this condition, but the factory technician, we don't need those conditions. I want to keep this kind of condition. So therefore, the emulsification condition we can change, but very difficult to change the spread drying condition. Depend on the spread dryer scale of the spread dryer. So this is the same photograph of the emulsified spread dried powder. So that this is this case is the blend gamma arabic, maltodextrin, or material case, and oil droplet, the dilimon. So let's think about this oil droplet size. And then this usually spread dried powder have a big vacuole. Milk company's powder. This thickness is a very, very thin, whole, almost the vacuole. So this is the experimental, some kind of the condition, and then make the emulsion, and then aroma retention depend on the feed emulsion, so the liquid droplet. So feed emulsion means this means the oil droplet size. Oil droplet size affect the flavor retention in the powder. So also, oil droplet size affect the surface oil content. So first, when you make the emulsion solution, after spread drying, you can get the dry oil in powder. So when we think about the flavor powder, first, what size of the oil droplet in emulsion, in powder? I want to skip this kind of the, and then this is the release of the dilemonen from the spread dried powder. All material, gamma arabic, and maltodextrin, high-cap monohydrate starchy case. This relative humidity, 96%, 75%. When we put on some humid condition, flavor released from the powder. Release rate depends on the environment humidity. So that also, when we feel the flavor, some fragrance, environment humidity is a very, very important. Environment temperature, so the above, below 50% case, such as French environment, France humidity. Japanese humidity almost 80 or 90. At rainy season, almost 90 relative humidity. So the feeling of the fragrance at nose is very, very different. Depend on the humidity. So, yeah, some kind of the but this is water. When we feel this fragrance, humidity, moisture we need, the binding of the flavor to the receptor depend on the environmental humidity. We feel the fragrance, aroma, flavor. So, therefore, this environment, moisture content, relative humidity, very, very important. After this lecture, I want to talk about gas expression. I want to talk about cyclodextrin. Cyclodextrin case. Also, inclusion of this compound to cyclodextrin case also depend on the moisture. So, at most, binding of the aroma to the receptor depend on the environmental moisture. Therefore, at France, at Paris, the fragrance, all very good fragrance. But in Japan, when the same person came to the Japan's train, Japan humidity is very, very high. We feel the, very strong flavor. So, binding of the flavor to the receptor depend on the environment moisture. Also, flavor release rate from the powder also depend on the environment moisture. Oh, yeah. So, the x-axis is the flavor, water activity, some kind of the relative humidity. So the release rate constant depend on the humidity, environment humidity. So the environment humidity affect the powder properties. When the moisture absorbs food, the food property it change. So, for example, this is the ambient temperature. Temperature is maybe the 50 degrees Celsius. This is about 23% case. 1 week, 1%, 1 week. Maybe, this is almost the same, and then, yeah. So the high humidity condition, we can see the aggregated powder, and then this is the oxidation rate of the limonene in powder, so the oxidation rate also depends on the environment humidity. Therefore, when we think about the release rate of from the powder, we have to think about every time temperature, humidity is important. So this is the formation rate constant of the limonene oxide, and this is those oxidation rate depend on the environment humidity, and then sometimes increase of the humidity case and the release rate, oxidation rate increase. But after this point, rapidly decrease the oxidation rate. This means that some crops mean the formation of the aggregated powder. In this state, powder is a still powder, but the high humid condition, aggregated powder, some kind of make the cover. So therefore the oxidation rate decrease. So when we think about the oxidation, release of flavor from the powder, so the glass water activity, also the glass transition temperature of the raw material is important. So the glass transition temperature of non-crystalline material is the critical temperature which material change its behavior from being glassy to the rubbery. So this glass transition temperature also is very important, especially when we want to make the powder. Every time when we operate the spray dryer, please think about the glass transition temperature. So this is an encapsulation of lemongrass by spray drying. So this is a straw, and so please check these compound and then make the powder case. So the oil amount, oil addition amount affect the surface oil content. So therefore you have to check the solid content. Solid content means the raw material, including the emulsifier, plus oil. This is the solid. But every time we think about the solid content, but also we have to think about the oil content. Fish oil and some kind of the oil, functional oil case, 45%, 40%. So maybe when we check the famous chemical company, food company, and I check the oil content and the powder size and the oil droplet size, but those companies' powder contain about 40% of oil. But the flavor powder case, fragrance powder case, aroma content, flavor content is a very, very low, 10% oil content, because oil is a very, very expensive. So oil content affect the powder morphology, because the high oil content case, liquid viscosity is lower than the low oil content powder case, liquid case. So high oil content case, we can see the oil droplet on the surface. Yeah, and then also the effect of the oil loss, powder morphology. This is the oil droplet. And there is a wall, is a maltodextrin or gamma-arabic. So when you think about the flavor powder, first, please think about film formation rate. And then also, oil droplet size. So that sometime, recently, university researcher used a small oil spray dryer. Small spray dryer can make the, or not can make, and make the small powder size, 10 micrometer. And then sometime, oil droplets 5 micrometer. So that I cannot imagine oil droplet size 5 micrometer, powder size is the 10 micrometer. So I cannot imagine. Industry usually DE, oil droplet by size by the powder size, usually the above 100. So in this case, oil droplet is the 0.5 micrometer, so this is 2 micrometer. So I can imagine. So therefore, when you want to make the flavor powder, please think about the powder size. And then, so in this part, I talked about selective diffusion theory. So when we think about the flavor retention, we have to think about the film formation. Water material play role as the film during the drying. Can I skip to the next gas encapsulation slide?
Di skip ke gas. Next.
Yeah.
Next.
45 minutes and
Iya. Langsung ke gas.
Skip. Yeah. So next, I will talk about gas expression for shelf life, extension, and preservation. So first, I want to talk about cyclodextrin. This is a cyclodextrin molecular structure, alpha, beta, gamma cyclodextrin. Alpha cyclodextrin have 6 glucose, beta cyclodextrin 7 glucose, gamma cyclodextrin 8 glucose. So the cyclodextrin is kind of like the bucket type of the structure. Cyclodextrin have a different size of the cavity diameter. Beta cyclodextrin is 7.0 micrometer. or 7.0 angstrom. So first, you have to think about the solubility. Alpha case, 14. Beta case, only 1.85. Gamma cyclodextrin, 23. So recently, this is the food fiber. Some company use the food fiber. So the stomach mouse at the, some kind of degradation enzyme of starch. Enzyme cannot degrade the alpha. Gamma case enzyme degraded this gamma cyclodextrin. So this is a product using the cyclodextrin. This is a coenzyme Q10, or DHC is a Japanese company name. Healthy food. Active substance, coenzyme Q10. This is wasabi. When you go to the sushi restaurant, maybe you use the wasabi. Active substance, allyl isothiocyanate, included in cyclodextrin. And then some green tea, Japanese green tea. This from Kao. Maybe the purpose of the suppression of bitterness to improve the solubility using the cyclodextrin. And then this is a fragrance, deodorant, the Fabrice. Can you see this kind of the fragrance in Indonesia?
Also have.
Yeah. So we can see the many products using the cyclodextrin. For example, another example. When this is the coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 could not solve the water. Water plus coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 40 on the water. When you add the gamma cyclodextrin, coenzyme Q10 encapsulates the gamma cyclodextrin. And then after we add some kind of surfactant, we can get the coenzyme Q10 missile. So nanomissile. Coenzyme Q10 nanomissile size below 100 micrometer. Coenzyme Q10 is the reductant, antioxidant. So the company put in this nanomissile to the cosmetic to keep the reductant condition. So therefore the company can make the high price cosmetic. So therefore the gamma cyclodextrin can make the high soluble. This is the uptake of coenzyme Q10 to the epidermis. This is the skin, some kind of the cell of the skin. So the absorption rate is very, very high because the micelle size is below 100 nanometer. So, and then cyclodextrin can encapsulate, include the guest compound. When we want to make the inclusion complex, we need the water. And then also the release or dissociation of the guest compound from the cyclodextrin, water molecules also we need. So for example, receptor, flavor receptor, binding case, we need water molecules. Also, cyclodextrin is a mimetic model of the flavor receptor. And so when we want to make the inclusion complex, water is essential for inclusion. So what is the minimum water molecules required for the inclusion? This is the alpha cyclodextrin. This is the water molecules plus fragrance D-limonene. We can encapsulate the D-limonene to the alpha cyclodextrin. So this is the crystal water in cavity. In this case, water molecule release. So this is a very simple experiment. We prepared the 0.5 gram of the 0.5 gram of the powder, cyclodextrin, and then D-limonene plus add the 2 milliliter. And then add a small amount of water. After incubation, centrifugation, vacuum drying, we can get the dried powder. We measure the content of the D-limonene. So the alpha, beta, gamma inclusion ratio of D-limonene to the cyclodextrin depend on the cyclodextrin cavity size. But this inclusion ratio depend on the addition of the water. So they need a high water content. At no water case, we cannot get the inclusion complex. So this is some autocatalytic reaction model. We can get this kind of the curve. And then in this place, I define the minimum water for inclusion. So the alpha case, beta case, gamma case, cavity have 2 crystal of water, 7 crystal of water, 12 crystal of water. And then from the experiment, release water molecules by D-limonene case, 4, 7, 8. So that we can, some kind of image, we can have an image. So that when the inside crystal water should be released from the cavity. Also, when we want to make the inclusion complex, environmental water amount also important. So when we make the inclusion complex of CD inclusion complex case, we need water. Flavor release from the inclusion complex powder case, we make the allyl isothiocyanate, wasabi's compound, the limonene, hinokichol, and make the inclusion complex by kneading method, not spread drying. So this is kneaded. So some kind of kneaded instrument, make some kind of slurry. And then after formation of the powder, we put on the flavor powder at some condition. So release of the different flavor included in beta cyclodextrin. Hinokishore at 70 degree of 70 relative humidity case, we cannot see the release. But AITC rapidly released Diponegoro. This is so and release. And so because the allyl isocyanate is this type of the compound, Hinokishore is the big size. So the size of the cavity is also important. So environmental humidity, important. So the very important factor. So also the Diponegoro release rate depend on the cyclodextrin. Alpha cavity size is very small, gamma is very big, and so release rate depend on the cyclodextrin also. But first we have to think about environmental humidity, moisture condition is very important in the release. So this is the effect of humidity. High humidity condition, we can see the high release rate. So when we want to see the release, we need the moisture. So this or skip and some kind of the release rate can correlate some kind of, by using the Abraham equation. But I want to show the effect of the repeated stepwise relative humidity on the release flux of Diponegoro in beta cyclodextrin. Blue key show the environmental relative humidity. This maybe that this is about the temperature is 50 degrees Celsius, a little bit higher temperature. This is the red key, red solid, show the flux of the Diponegoro from the powder. So when we change the humidity, we can see this kind of the step wise change. So the high humidity condition, we can see the release of the Diponegoro. But the low humidity condition, we cannot see the release. So when we control the environment temperature, environmental humidity, we can control the release rate of the flavor, some kind of in cyclodextrin. So therefore, I think about the development of environmental humidity responsive antibacterial washi paper. So the first, high humid condition, the antibacterial flavor released from the washi powder. This is the washi paper, not powder. Washi means the Japanese paper. So in this case, we use some kind of the polymer coating agent, but some kind of the beta cyclodextrin and the coated, we make this kind of the spray dried powder. So this is a crystal of the beta cyclodextrin. those, oh yeah, those powder, we can see the some kind of the release rate, repeated stepwise method. Some polymer cannot see the limonene release, but some case we can see the stepwise release. So in this case, this is a spray dried powder using beta cyclodextrin included, limonene included beta cyclodextrin plus polymer region. And then check some kind of the antibacterial test, and then also include the compound 10-1 case, we can make the inclusion complex. This is some bacteria. This is control case. The 14 days we can growth of the bacteria, but when we add the 10-1 this is the main compound from the neem tree in India. So when we add the cyclodextrin, the antibacterial effect is increased. So this is antibacterial case and against the root fungi case. So, and then when we use the cyclodextrin using some antibacterial agent, we can make the antibacterial package. But this is the this is not Herman Waff, but recently Herman investigated the one metric cycle program. So the humidity relaxation response, electrospinning of the polyester fibers, functionalized with inclusion complex, 1-MCP, and our cyclodextrin. So what is the one-metric cycle program? So the one-metric cycle program is this kind of the HLF inhibitor. Structure is like the HLF. So this compound effective at low concentration, ppm or ppb level. But 1%, above 1%, the explosive properties. Therefore, the company make the inclusion complex part. One is MCP and cyclodextrin. So when we use the 1-MCP 500 ppm, this is the University of Florida's data, water lemon, untreated, 10 ppb, 1 pp, 1 ppm. And then also, when we use the flower storage as some condition, 1 ppm, 1 LCP treatment case, we can see the freshness of the problem. This is our experiment. This is a carnation flower, untreated. Maybe the at room temperature 30 milligram of powder treatment case. We can still, you cannot see that this kind of dark red color. We can keep the fresh tomato. So that when we think about climatic and non-climatic fruits, kiwi, banana, and apple, tomato, and climatic fruits. So that this is the effect, these fruits affecting the environmental ethylene concentration. Ethylene bind these fruits and then accelerate the accelerate the life. So the ethylene enhance the life inhibitor, binding inhibitor of vitamin CP. For example, this is the ethylene. Ethylene bind the ethylene receptor in the fruits, ripening occur, and also the synthesis occur. But the 1-MCP bind this side. Ethylene cannot, ethylene unable to bind to the receptor. We can inhibit these phenomena, ripening synthesis. So this is the formation lithium salt of 1-CP. So that when we synthesize of the 1-CP powder, initially we have to need the lithium salt of 1-CP. And then after we can get the crystal. So that this is the one experimental method, but I want to change that. So from those inclusion conference, when we want to see the release of high humid condition, we can see the release of the 1-MCP from the powder. But low humid condition, we cannot see the 1-MCP release from the powder. So, so this depends on that. And then this is a control by MCP included alpha-cyclodextrin at high humidity condition, also 90%. It is some kind of aggregating crystal. So if we apply
That's more meaning. Yeah.
upstart using 1-CP, this became the Indonesian, some kind of the Jakarta. The temperature became at 20 degrees Celsius around. But maybe recently, 30, 40 degrees Celsius. Wake up the ethylene receptor. So, on that time, 1-MCP release and 1-MCP binding occur 4 degrees Celsius. We don't need to inhibit the ethylene receptor side. At 20 degrees Celsius case, above 20 degrees Celsius, we want to stop this ethylene receptor side because the 20 degrees Celsius ethylene formation occur and then binding ethylene bind to the ethylene receptor likely occur. In this step, we want to stop the ethylene effect. So this 40 piece of the apple in the polyester box, and then keep the 15 days, and then change the temperature at 50 degrees Celsius. And then first analysis, second analysis, and then we check this is the Fuji apple. And then first time, initially, we put on the 1-MCP paper. This kind of. But recently, we put on the paper on the cover. And then this is 15 days. We cannot see the ethylene formation. Some control, no 1-MCP powder case. Is that one case? Control. This 4 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees Celsius. We can see the ethylene formation. In this case, and we can inhibit the ethylene formation. But this is ethylene concentration in box, very, very low, 14. This is the Fuji case. And then ethylene production rate of apples. This is this spec. 15 days, 15 days. Also 1 month after take up the fresh apple, and then after 1 month, ethylene formation rate is very high. But when we use the 1-MCP alpha CD powder, we cannot see the ethylene formation, so that we can stop the ethylene formation. So, because the ethylene formation occur, and then ethylene bind this receptor. But when we stop the binding of 1-MCP to the ethylene receptor, we can stop the 450 dpm. When we use the multi-power, we can stop the HM formation. Except 1MCP case. This is the Fujiappo case, but I want to see the Orinoco case. This is the HM formation. This is the polyethylene box. This is the paper box. This is not polyethylene, polyethylene box. And then this is the formation already. When we use the 1MCP 50 milligram, 1 milligram, we can almost stop the HM formation. And then farmers increase. Acidity also increase. And then we have to see that this damaged apple, some kind of the apple has a damage. Control case, 60% of the apple, the damage, after 1 month. But when we use the 50 milligram case, below 20%. But when we use the higher MCP, the increase the damage approach done. So 1MCP can stop the HM formation. Perfect. On that case, it is some kind of the perfect stop. Is that sometimes the very bad effect. Yeah. And then therefore when we think about the inclusion phenomenon of this compound to cyclodextrin case, we have to think about the water. When we want to make the inclusion complex, we need the moisture, water. And then when we want to see the release of this compound from cyclodextrin inclusion complex powder case, we need the water, moisture. Also, spread right flavor powder, emulsion flavor spread right powder. Also, when we want to see the release, we need the moisture. So relative humidity is a very important. So environmental moisture are very important to control the release of the gas compound inside the dictionary cavity. Release also inclusion. Moisture is content is very important. So water molecules are essential for inclusion and the release of the gas compound inside the dictionary. So some kind of definition could be an analysis of the flavor release. But in this case, 1MCP called paper treatment was effective to inhibit the HM production rate during the apple storage time. So cyclodextrin can encapsulate 1-methylcyclopropane as the HM binding inhibitor. Also, ethylene can include the cyclodextrin. Therefore, you can accelerate the ripening, you can inhibit the ripening using the ethylene or 1CP. Or when you use the antibacterial agent, some compound, you can make some kind of package, food package. Maybe that is, maybe, oh yeah. Those work with many PhD students. So Helmut in the second last rep in the Western University, Canada, and many students. Yeah, Ita Paramita, Diponegoro University, maybe almost 55 years ago, and she worked. And then also, plus others, John and Toronto University, BTT, many students do those work. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu, Yoshii-sensei. Okay, I would like to explain some things, maybe just a little about the dates. Yoshii-sensei said that if you want to make some spray drying, for example, especially on the encapsulation, please give attention to glass transition temperature, right? And then if you want to operate the spray drying, you should have something like cooling jacket too, because the stainless steel from the spray drying will have rising the temperature up to 200 or 300 Celsius, something like so. Please using cooling jacket. One important thing for the best aroma encapsulation is you can have 3 ways to increasing the retain of aroma in the wall material. First of all is you can increase the temperature, air temperature, and then you can decrease the humidity, and then you can increase the velocity, air velocity. So if we conclude, or if we can see from the presentation, is the humidity in the environmental, especially water molecular in the environment, is so important thing, because for the retention of aroma and then the inclusion complex, water molecular is so important thing. So if you have some research about the encapsulation, please give attention to that thing that I said to you. Okay. Thank you very much once again, and then I would like to invite our participant here to please raise your hand to have some Q&A session. Anyone to have some question to Professor Hidefumi Yoshii? Maybe Seva want to question to you. Okay, please give applause to Seva. Tanya balik yang ditanyain. Okay, please give applause to Seva. Please stand up, Seva. Okay.
So, thank you for the explanation of the encapsulation method that Prof. Yoshii have explained before. So, actually I don't have any question yet, but I just want to make sure that if the igniting is the best method to get the high efficiency encapsulation, Professor. Thank you.
So, yeah, you want to get the good flavor powder. So usually cyclodextrin price is very, very expensive. And then cosmetic case, you can use the cyclodextrin for coenzyme Q10, and some kind of cosmetic is very, very expensive. Fragrance for cosmetic, also very, very expensive. But for food should be cheap. Therefore, company don't want to use the cyclodextrin. Cyclodextrin, they use some kind of special purpose. Therefore, the food company want to make the good high retention and the high shelf life powder. But the spread-dried powder also, we have to think about shelf life. Functional fruit case, shelf life is almost 1 year, 1.5 year. But recently, they want to control the shelf life, not shelf life, the process life and the storage life, using life. So they want to control the shelf life, small shelf life, process life, and the using life, and then they want to control the some kind of old life. When we want to get the high stable, high content of flavor powder case, we have to keep the low humid condition. We have to keep some package, not penetrate the moisture to the powder from the environment. So the package cost is increase. And then storage cost is increase. Therefore, recently the company want to control some kind of whole process life of powder. But usually we have to get the stable and the high retention powder. On that case, we have to think one parameter, solid content, and what oil content, and then oil composition. Some flavor compound is a very, very expensive. Therefore, they mix the MCT oil, some kind, another oil, palm oil, and some oil. Oil is not evaporated. Therefore, usually, spread drying, we inlet the temperature and feed liquid flow rate, gas flow rate, we can control. But the conventional factory condition, 180, outlet temperature 90 degrees Celsius, maybe the whole many companies use the same spread drying condition. Therefore, we have to think about the raw material, emulsifier, those feed liquid composition we have to think. And then oil content, small oil content, and high oil without evaporation. So, therefore, first, we have to think about initial raw material composition. And second, when we get the good spread drying condition, after we have to think about a storage condition. During the storage condition, some raw material is bad, not optimal. Therefore, we have to think of some part in the spread drying formation. Spread drying storage is stores and using. So we 1, 2, 3. Some raw material, optimal, good condition, but some same raw material, the not good condition. So we have to think of when we use the spread right powder, we have to solverize the in water. So raw material should be solverize in water. Therefore, when we think about the good condition, we have to think about this whole process. Recently trend and in stomach, in intestine, we have to think. Some raw material, very good raw material to get the high retention of the flavor during the spread dry. But such raw material is not good for the intestine. So therefore, we have to think the whole process. Therefore, maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, we think about the 1 and 2. 10 years ago, we think about the 1, 2, 3. 5 years ago, we have to think about mainly the 4. The release rate of some gas compound from those powder. Maybe those powder is a solubilized condition. But the cyclodextrin case, still inclusion complex. Therefore, those inclusion complex should release the inclusion complex. Therefore, recently, some plan, we have to think about this condition. Therefore, the size of the oil droplet. So the size of the oil droplet, small oil droplet. So some case, small oil droplet is better. But the EU countries inhibit the very small oil droplet. Therefore, we have to think about this part. For example, coenzyme Q10 and some kind of the compound. So we should measure the release rate from the inclusion complex. Therefore, how to get the optimum condition, I cannot answer.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. So, if you look closely from this picture, you can see that the main thing, the important thing, if you want to make some powder, is how people will accept your product. Okay. So the main challenge between the laboratory research and industrial application is the factory usually doesn't want to change their condition, because they just want to make some money, and they just want to have some efficiency, and they don't want to have some various conditions. So it's one of the main challenges between the laboratory research to go to the industrial application. Because if I just, if I'm the factory, I just want to have some more money and then more efficient, rather than I just want to have some coba-coba, something like that. Okay. Thank you very much, Seva. And then any other question? Okay, please, Faiz.
Okay, thank you for the chance, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. My name is Muhammad Amir Faiz. I'm in my 5th semester this year. I want to ask about the presentation. it's about the experiment. That is one MCIP. In one MCIP, is there any side effects on that, and why is in the end the one MCIP is be leave or be apa ya bahasa Inggrisnya ini dikeluarkan be removed sir gitu. That is my question. Thank you.
So usually, 1-MCP use the very low level. So usually the 10 ppb 0.1 ppm level is enough to inhibit the ethylene formation of fresh apple and some kind of fruits. And the company using the 1-MCP, this kind of the room, many large apples, and then keep the 3 hours, only the 3 hours, and the absorption occur 1-MCP to the ethylene receptor, binding receptor. On that case, some benzene and some kind of the organic compound have released, but the level of the concentration level is very, very low. We cannot detect those organic compound by using the GC mass and some kind of analysis machine. Therefore, we cannot see the some kind of damage to the human body, and so therefore the Australia, in the United States, and South America, and many countries use the 1-MCP. Therefore, maybe the Indonesia, no, yeah. UIMCP, but I don't know the Indonesia, but the Japan and the kaki apple, some kind of whole fruits we can use. But maybe I imagine the flower application is useful. Maybe the flower, we cannot think about the damage for the human damage. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Professor, I think in Indonesian is rather using 1-MCP because Indonesian have so many production about the fruit, but Japan, I think, just a little production about food, especially fruit. In Indonesian, if you want to buy fruit, it's so cheap, it's so much, it's so many, and you can buy anything and anywhere you want to buy. So Indonesian rather than or priority to using in 1-MCP, I think something like that. But for keep in your mind, if you look like undang-undang, yeah, you have some law, there are some maximum concentration that you want to use. For example, if you want to use CD, dextrin, maltodextrin, you just have maximum about 0.03%. So just 0.03% for the maximum concentration that you allow to use the CD or maltodextrin, something like that. Because if we use more than that allows, it can be harm our body. I think I don't know what's harm, but I think if we have gain or we using more than allowed, that will be harm our body. I think something like that, but I don't know what harm. Okay, okay, thank you very much. And then the last question is, any other participant want to question? Has come question? The last question? Okay, please.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Tita Windarti from Industrial Chemical Engineering Technology. And my question is, how can encapsulation of flavors be made more affordable and applicable for small and medium-sized food enterprises in Indonesia that produce traditional snacks, herbal drinks, and spices?
How can encapsulation have more affordable, low, cheap to our UMKM, our factory, low factory? Yeah, especially how can make it so lower price?
So I think maybe for example, maltodextrin, when you want to use a raw material, maltodextrin, I checked the website. You can get the maltodextrin from China. Another emulsifier case, also other country. So some kind of when we want to the shellac factory is very small in Indonesia. So when you want to make the cheap specific flavor powder, you have to get the original material, maltodextrin from starch. Usually the maltodextrin from the corn starch, but you can use the rice starch. And then also another emulsifier, also the material source should prepared in your own country. But in Japan also, original materials from China, flavor source is from India. So the maltodextrin from the United States, but when you want to get the cheap and good powder, flavor, also raw material, you should look find the good raw material and the good emulsifier. And then also the core material, flavor. So I think, so it is not good answer, but when we want to get the cheap, good aroma powder, so the initial material is very, very important.
Okay, thank you very much. So, if you want to have some cheap material, you can buy it from the source like China's. But if you want to make maltodextrin using cornstarch, will be more than cheaper than you buy from another company. But actually, based on the economical aspect, if you want to have some cheaper product, you can maximum your production, and then you can have more production to lower your operating costs. Okay, based on the economical aspect. And then I think that's conclude our session about the visiting lecturer here. Today's session, I hope all of us gain more attention, more knowledge about the encapsulation. And then on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thanks to Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Arigato gozaimasu. Now I would like to give to the main master of ceremony to continue the next agenda, and please enjoy the rest of program. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Thank you very much for Professor Yoshii for today's comprehensive lecture, and also Mr. Malik for moderating this insightful session. Before we end today's event, let's take a moment to documentation session. So please, all the participants stand up, and for Prof. Yoshii and Mrs. Yoshii, stand up in the front. Guys, berdiri guys. One, two, and three. Please, the vocational pose. The hand sign. One, two, and three. Okay, the last one, we gonna make a video and saying our jargon. When I say vokasi, please reply to juara with the hand. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Vokasi. Okay, thank you so much everyone, and Mr. Yoshii. Yeah, please back on your seat. Okay, thank you so much for joining our session till our last. I hope we gain lots of new insight and knowledge regarding our topic about the flavor encapsulation. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of today's session. On behalf of the committee, we sincerely say thank you for your active participation. We look forward to welcoming you again in the next day of Visiting Professor 2025. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.